Gameface. I am Dr. Kim Lannon with a scratchy voice because I have my allergies constantly.
We all have allergies.
Driving me crazy.
Yep.
So I have to talk like this. And I want to itch my eye really bad because it's really itchy and I'm trying not to touch it. And I'm going to try not to touch my face because I'm itching. And this is with allergy medication. It's cuckoo. It's 4 weeks. It's like 4 weeks. I had like a frog in my throat.
Even I'm handling this year, and it's like I don't get allergies, but this week I'm being bothered by it.
Oak and pollen are out right now.
Oh, okay.
That's what's happening. That's what's sporing currently.
Oak and
pollen.
Okay.
Just the pollen in general is up. You haven't seen your car?
Of course.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Because I washed it, and 3 hours later I was like, what? And then you put your hand on it. And you touch you touch your face or something and
you're done.
That's it. And you don't think about it. But so every time I touch my car, I'm like, oh God, don't touch my face.
You got any masks left over?
No, I do. Well, I do somewhere, but who knows? Anyway.
Yep.
So, oh my goodness, it is a lovely day here.
Yes.
And we've had a stretch of lovely days without rain, all to have it start raining again tonight. We're going to rain.
Oh, is it raining tonight?
Oh yeah. It's raining from tonight until like doomsday. It's raining all week. I will be away this week. Not this week, but I will be away Friday through Monday.
Okay.
Doing something fantastic.
Tell me this on air.
I
can't question it.
I'm actually doing Wildcat Sanctuary this weekend.
Oh, nice.
The Catio Town is doing its grand founders opening, and I'm a founder.
Congratulations.
At Wildcat. So I will be founding up there.
So you're going to come home and your cats are going to go, what the hell?
I know. With all the 140 other cat smells on me, right?
Yep.
So, it'll be interesting because they've had 90-degree weather for several weeks there, and we've had not. And so I'm like, oh, it's going to be so great. And guess what the weather's going to be there?
Rainy.
60 and raining. So I'm going from this to that and exactly the same. And everyone was like, my friend from Florida is coming, and she's like, I can't wait because it'll be such a change from Florida. And I'm like, girl, no. So, well, Minnesota. So it will be fun. But it's exciting because it's an awesome business trip, and it's an awesome thing for, my other side of my psychology. And
you get to see the cats.
And some really great people. So it'll be really good. Anyway, I was going to talk about a topic today that is the year of you for the year of May. I mean, the month of May of you, which I am going to do because we're going to talk about alternative medicines and complementary medicines, because people have been asking me, what are the legit things, So I'm going to talk about that. But first, because you brought it up, because inquiring minds want to know is if you're following, because it's even bigger now. It's like I see it every day now on national news.
Yep.
The Karen Read trial, and people are asking, and you're one of the people asking of what are my thoughts on the Karen Read trial. And I've been following bits and pieces because everyone's talking about it and the psychology behind it. But man, if you didn't think she was guilty before, she's certainly not any more guilty now, because wow, they got some good stuff on some bad people.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, I still contend that from me watching, I could never be a juror for her because I'm all Camp Karen.
Right.
There's no way this woman killed this man.
No
way.
Especially not the way they described.
No. And those two doctors that came on and were like very specific, like he would have had to be bending over and ramming his head from the back into like this little lamp that would have done way more damage. And I mean, that's not even on the radar. It's all the insanity of these police officers that are just clearly lying and covering up, and the bombshell after bombshell, and you can just see it. Now I do feel bad. And
it's the second and third level cover up. You almost understand them covering up, because if we can theorize what happened, but the Canton Police Department, the state police, the whole government is covering them up. It seems like.
Well, just I mean, I won't obviously because I'm not there. I can't, but there's something definitely wrong.
Yes.
With the picture, and I was going to say I feel bad, but not really. I feel sort of cringe for that man. What's his name? Belchick? I don't know. He's the guy that's been up there for 50 days.
Yeah.
I mean, he just gets, you can see in his face, he keeps getting walked right into stuff, like the sneaker last week, and he pulls out the sneaker that's from Mayfield, from the house, but it was supposed to be the one from the hospital. It's the wrong shoe on the wrong side. And then the judge's face, and I'm like, girl, what's going on. And she's like, oh my God, it's just, man.
There's a great meme last week about a New Englander's take on the Karen Reed trial. And there's this woman in a car just talking to the phone. She's going, do I like her? No. Is she an angel? No. But she didn't kill that guy.
Mm-hmm.
And we all feel that way.
Yeah. I mean, I get tongue tied about it because there's so many. So it's a psychological, interestingly wonderful specimen of a case because there's so many pieces to it that just keep screaming she didn't do it.
In most great,
and then you don't have to like her. I mean, so what that she was like maybe liking that guy Higgins. So what? She's a single person. They weren't, her and O'Keefe were on again, off again. They weren't fighting that night. It didn't look like maybe in the car they were. Who knows? But they weren't in public. And
she's as towny as we get. We all know Karen Reed.
Right.
We all know
Karen Reed. And that's. I think I talked about that before when we talked about Karen Reed, just the trial itself. Like, there's a very quintessential thing about people who are like police officers as a group, and then firemen, and then the town, and
There's a point in every series that I love where a character shows up and it's like, I can't wait till that person dies.
Who are we waiting to die?
No, not waiting to die, but I'm waiting for these people to get their comeuppance.
Oh, yes.
I'm just waiting to see it, and I'm hoping it happens because God only knows at this point. But.
I know. Well, I know. Well, it should happen. But hello, Leanne. Leanne is up in Minnesota, and she's joining us this weekend. I will see her for dinner.
Already up. She's in Florida, right?
No, Leanne
she's in Minnesota.
lives in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yes, Leanne is there. She's a lovely, lovely person.
Minnesota spring's been better than ours.
Yes, they've had lovely weather. I mean, we're getting there.
Yeah.
So, but Karen, I just think that they should just drop the whole thing. It's just dismiss this case. It should be over. I
was stunned they came back to retry her. Because it just double exposes them to all this.
Well, because now
crap.
It's even worse.
Yeah.
It's even worse. The amount of stuff that they had time to get and uncover, and oh my word.
And the chief investigator is fired.
Proctor.
Yeah.
Proctor.
And they're going to come back and retry it after the chief inspector has been.
They're going to. I think they're bringing him back too to talk.
Oh. That doesn't make any sense.
I mean. You got Higgins, you got that guy that's up there, like, don't know his name with a B, the one that kind of always looks perplexed and like a deer in headlights because every question he knows is leading him into I'm going to get totally slammed.
Oh, yeah.
You're like,
because this just got dumped in his lap.
Yeah. And then when he's sitting there saying, there's integrity and he doesn't know. And I'm like, oh God, this is painful. Yep. This is so painful to watch. So I don't think she's guilty. So there's my 2 cents worth. I mean, for what it's worth, I'm not a juror. So hopefully the jurors are going to see through it. And I can't imagine them sitting there. I always love the thing. And when I teach about forensic psychology in my intro class, I always talk about, when they say strike that and the jury dismiss that, right?
No.
Okay. The psychology of the cognitive mind is when someone says that, it's like, it's a highlight.
Yep.
It's like, put a highlighter on it, wrap it in a big bow, and remember that because that's, there's a reason why they want you to forget it.
Yep.
Right. So, and there's been a lot of those lately, and they're all in Karen's favor and not in the prosecution's favor.
And attorneys understand that. That's why they do it.
Right.
They'll take the objection. They'll take the They'll take the slap on the wrist.
Right.
Because they get it in.
Right.
Yeah.
But the prosecution keeps getting slapped.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is.
So will they go at it a third time?
No, God, please no.
Because there's no way they're getting 12 guilties.
No, I don't think so.
But is there a way they get 12 acquittals?
Well, there could be 12 acquittals.
Could be. But...
No rational thinking person can actually walk away, even at this juncture, with what's happened right up to this point, and not say there's reasonable doubt, therefore we have. There's no way.
But that was true after the first trial.
I know, but if you saw right? If you saw the interview with, you know how they have that thing after at night, like the half an hour with whoever that guy is that talks about it. They had one of the former jurors on that he always comes on, and he was saying that everybody was in favor of acquitting her, and then one person had like one doubt on like the last moment, and then that's what tipped it or something. I don't know. I'm going to go with the fact that it's going to be all the jurors are going to be like, okay, let's just call it now. But
then what?
And then it's over. Then she's going to get
it's over for her. But then what? Are they just going to let it slide? Are they going to
probably
invest? Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's kind of like, you know, when you move someone out of like a top, you know, this is not a door to open for you, by the way.
What
I'm about to say.
Okay.
It's kind of like when you move someone from a really big position and they're doing a really bad job and they screw up. So you just move them into a UN position.
Yeah.
You just move them. No, don't fire them. You don't give them any, you know, you just move them. It happens a lot.
Yep.
I see it a lot. I won't, there's a particular system that I have watched do that a lot in my field.
Mm-hmm.
And people do really unethical, terrible things. And I mean, mind blowing. And they don't fire them. They just ship them to Colorado, or they move them to Hawaii, or they keep a position. They just move them.
Yep.
And I'm like, that is not a thing, but you know what I think about those things.
Because it would reflect badly on the organization. So.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. All right. What did Leanne say? It's what?
It's been nice in Minnesota, but not this weekend.
I know, Leanne. It's going to be raining, cold, like it's here. I know. I was so excited for 90 and short weather. And Paula and I were coming with shorts, and now we're not coming with shorts. Nope. So it's going to be fabulously cold. Yay. Anyway, so I don't know what else to say about the Karen Read trial right now, because it's just, you know, if people aren't watching it, it's very entertaining. It's, you know, they had a day off this week. Do we know why? There was some unforeseen thing that happened or something. And
they had to find new stuff.
And
because this stuff they have isn't working. That was the big thing I was wondering about with the retrial.
The prosecution?
Yes.
Oh.
That was the big thing I was wondering about with the retrial. What were they going to find? What was going to be the new stuff? Because what they had wasn't enough. They had to come up with something.
Well, they didn't come up with much.
No, they didn't.
But the defense did.
Yep.
The defense is rocking.
He is so good.
He is. I love him.
Yeah.
I love listening to him. He's so confident, and I saw him the other day, and he was talking about, and you can see he's so genuine and authentic about this. Like they're not taking any money. Like he said it's a $5 or $6 million case at this point, and they're doing it because they believe in her.
Yeah, and it makes them stars, which they've become.
Right.
Yeah,
exactly. And they're not. I mean, I'm sure they're getting something, but he's like, we're not getting anything. He's like, we're doing this for the point of doing it and the justice of doing it. I'm like, that's awesome. So I'm very excited for that.
Anybody here remember how much this costs the state to retry this case?
I haven't. I'm sure it's $5 to $6 million just in the court fee. I mean, in the legal fees for him, and that's what he's saying, that he's not getting paid. Imagine that's just that. Imagine how much it's costing. A lot.
Yeah.
So we know that Judge Bev is getting paid, isn't she?
Yes, she is.
With her worry face all the time. She always looks so worried what's coming.
Yeah.
I imagine, you know, I do have to say that
if I wanted the outcome she wanted, I'd be worried too.
I always, not always, when I've been watching, I've been sitting there, and all it keeps going through my head is, you're chief of police laying in bed in your house, and there's an entire police and fire department,
a woman screaming,
front lawn, and you don't get
a dead body. Yeah.
And you don't get out of bed, and you don't come outside and see what's going on. And why would you redo your basement floor after you just had it done 3 months prior?
Rehome your dog.
Get rid of your phone, get rid of your SIM cards, sell your house and move.
Yep.
Odd.
Then the whole cross with Jen McCabe about you show up at the house, your sister doesn't come out of the house. There's basically a circus on your lawn.
Right.
And your sister doesn't come out of the house, and you don't care. You don't want to find out if she's okay.
Right.
Because there's a body on her front lawn.
And I love how there's some good stuff out there online about her, you know, just her testimony. But the pure coaching script of the testimony that they do comparisons on is so funny. And she's talk about the quintessential townie. She's
they're all townies.
And it's I don't know.
This is a Ben Affleck movie.
It is. I know. I can see it. It so is. You know. So I'm sure there will be a big movie made out of this at some point, and I can't wait to see who plays all these characters.
Well, she's gonna get a book. She'll get a book.
Karen.
Someone will write a book for her.
Karen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they'll turn that into a movie.
And she needs it because they fired her from her job, and she, and she had to move. I mean, anyway. Okay, let's go to the month of you.
Yes.
May, the month of you. So if anyone has any thoughts on the Karen Reed trial, certainly chime in. But I had to fulfill
We'll touch it again.
Lou's need for a little Karen Reed.
I just wanted a reasonable take on it because I'm looking at it and I'm going, none of this makes any sense whatsoever.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, the case they presented in the original trial was ridiculous.
Right.
The fact that they decided to retry it and came back with nothing.
And now they're getting just terrorized essentially by the defense.
They gave the defense a second try, which
those
are lawyers you do not want to give second tries to.
And they're better. They're stronger. They're coming even. There's more. And it's like, and their expert witnesses are spot on. Yep. Like there's just. I just have so many things.
But she backed up at 25 miles an hour over 80 feet and hit him in a snowstorm. Yep.
On the back of the head.
On the back of the head.
Remember, because that's the only place he has a mark other than the
dog bite,
mauling of the dog that was supposedly from the car.
Yeah.
And that doctor, did you see the expert witness, the doctor? I know I got to move on, but the one who was
on the original trial.
This last, I think it was last week before this new guy got up. I think it was last week, but he was saying like he literally bent over. He goes, he'd have to like bend his head down. He goes, and anybody that gets hit by a car, he said, would have body damage. And he goes, the marks on his arm and the damage on the back, he goes, that is not from hitting that little headlamp at all.
I invite anybody to try to back up at 25 miles an hour.
Well, I know a lot of people are going down and driving by that house, right? Yeah. And every single person I've seen on social media that's doing it, and then people were doing it for Mother's Day. That was like their Mother's Day thing. They were going.
They're recreating it.
Yeah, they were going down there. These poor people that live in this house
Can
now
you
are
imagine?
probably like, oh my God, right? But I remember because it was right around my birthday. It was blizzard, like it was snowing really bad that night. 80 or whatever they said, 70 miles an hour, whatever it was. How much did they say it was? 30.
Her backing up 25.
Oh, 25 feet. I mean, 25 miles an hour.
80 feet
80
at 25
feet, right?
Yeah.
And there was not enough space to have that kind of like
to get to that acceleration.
It's just not. It's impossible.
Yep.
And in a snowstorm, with I would say however many cars were still like there were cars there. I mean. And it was,
and you don't know the area. You're not familiar with the area. You're not backing up at 25 miles an hour in an area in a snowstorm. You don't know when you're drunk.
But I was like, even if you've been drinking, you're not doing that. And I know that she was, but you still don't like,
Mother's Day true crime. Come on, Mom.
I know. Yes, exactly.
Let's go see if we can back up to the flagpole.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Right. Well, and that's so funny, Leanne. I think that if I didn't even have any of the other evidence, but the fact that if I only heard that Jen McCabe did that search, and I don't buy the whole, and nobody does, I think, that it was a 2:27 a.m. search. Karen was nowhere to be found.
Yep.
And then she tries to say it was 6 o'clock in the morning on the request of Karen to ask how long does it take for a body to, and he was,
then she deleted it.
And then she deleted it because,
How many searches in your life have you ever deleted? I need a cleaner, first of all. I need a good friend that'll clean my search history when I die, but I've never deleted a search.
I think that maybe not because I was clearing it on purpose. I was looking for something that I had looked up and I was too lazy to retype it. So I was like going through and looking and deleting. I think I might've done that once, but it was just like years ago, like years.
Yeah.
And on my computer, I wouldn't even know where to go into clear. I don't even know what to do with that.
Just a bunch of butt dials. That's all.
I have
all
no idea.
Butt dials.
But, I don't know. It seems like one wouldn't want to clear that if we aren't guilty.
No.
How long does it take? You're a police officer's wife or whatever, and you don't think that that's going to come back? You can't find search histories?
No.
Anyway, okay. Month of view. We're going to talk about the question that has come up, which is alternative medicines. And so alternative medicine and complementary medicine, so people call them different things. And there's like a variety, and I have a variety to talk about because people often will say like, well, how do I take care of myself? And so I thought I'd start with just like, first of all, what is an alternative medicine? And so there's some that are viable and have good research and back them up, and they're complementary to what regular Western medicine, Eastern medicine, Western medicine, and then there's other things. Now, if you're taking care of yourself and you're doing the month of you in May, or any month, so I always start with, like with my clients, when they're trying to find, okay, how do I do self-care? So, right. So the basics, we just start with basics. Complementary care right out of the top is doing things like meditation, mindfulness practices. Now what does that look like if you're doing something out in the world? Yoga. Go join a yoga class. That is a complementary medicine because you can do it as like the Ayurvedic, the Indian practice, not Native American, but the Indian practice of combining, holistic and naturopathy and being able to heal from within and heal self. And so there's tons of different types of yoga. And I find that if people aren't flexible and they don't like doing those poses, there's breath yoga. There's different types of just kind of meditative yoga that you can go to. And pretty much any studio that is a sole studio for yoga will have a variety of those kind of classes. They'll have the flow class, they'll have the vinyasa class, they'll have, right. So they'll have all these different types. Now, if you're a person that wants to do the physicality, you can do Bikram yoga, which is the hot yoga. So it makes you sweat, makes you nauseous, by the way, when you're doing it. And then you have the varieties of just like the basics all the way, from like the beginner, intermediate, and they're different names. And those are great alternative yet complementary medicine that doesn't do any kind of damage. You have to have certification to teach the classes, and it's not online certification. You have to go through hours of teaching and practice. And so you have to become a practitioner. So you pretty much know, hopefully, that if you're going to an actual yoga studio and they're teaching, you've got someone that actually has the talent and the technique and hopefully knows what they're doing. And you just, that's a wonderful self-care practice. And I encourage most of my clients to do something like that. If you don't like going to a studio and you don't have the money to do that, it's a wonderful thing that YouTube has tons of videos. I always do the disclaimer, make sure you check with your your health, like, so that you don't go and twist yourself into a pretzel and then slip a disc, right? So make sure you know your health and get your, if you have kind of medical conditions or anything that you might be concerned about, you should definitely look into making sure you can do those things. So that is one of my favorites. Now, I'm giving all the general ones that I think are good for like people with mental health, like just general things, right? Like my life coaching people, my wellness people. Massage therapy. That is a wonderful alternative medicine for people with stress, anxiety, depression, and pretty much any kind of on the continuum, all the mental health disorders, but also for physical things like cardiovascular, people who have chronic, not because it's cardiovascular, but because it relaxes you. And so therefore it brings your blood pressure down, right? Okay, so if you have a cardiovascular issue, it's good for people with Parkinson's because it helps the neurons fire, because it relaxes the neurons from being bundled up and tight. So it like releases it and gives it more mobility, right? It helps people who have like, it just slipped me, CHF. I was like, what are we talking about? Right. So if people have like a lung issue, really good back PT, right? So instead of going to a physical therapist, sometimes people go to a massage therapist because it releases, congestion around the lungs if people have had chronic things like that. So it immune compromised people massage therapy is really good for, because it helps clear. When you do massage, right, you can do a lymph node massage. And so they go into all the lymph areas and they do like that. So they drain, you drink lots of water, the liver and the kidneys clear. I mean, so massage is really good alternative therapy. And it's pretty good for most people on the continuum of all medical or mental health things. So I'm an encourager of that for people, and it's relaxing. The problem with that and the downside is it can be expensive. So I tell people, hey, if you want to have that as part of your self-care, go to a place that has packages, and you can join the, like a club, and you go once a month. And some people, go once a year. I encourage people that are high stress, high anxiety, and like warriors to try to get a massage at least once a month. Because it's good for the soul. And I tell them do 90 minutes, not 1 hour, because by the time you're in for an hour, it's over.
Yeah.
So my massage therapist does 2 hours. She's awesome. And I drive an hour and a half to see her.
There are there are physical benefits, no doubt about that. We all understand that, but this is as much a mental exercise as it is a physical exercise.
Yes.
Because you're on the massage table, you can't deal with anything else. Just be there and be at the massage table. Well,
and it's a wonderful self-care practice, truly, because you have to be present in the moment and you have to let go. Yeah. And a lot of people struggle with massages because it's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Again, you have to be certified. You have to go to someone that's licensed and so on and so forth. So you're pretty guaranteed that you're not going to have, I call it the hocus pocus. You're not going to have the voodoo schmoodoo stuff. And, but it's a mental exercise for sure, because you have to be able to sit at peace with yourself. And a lot of times people cry. A lot of times people fall asleep, but it's good for you. Facial cranial massages are really good for people who have like TMJ and, in their jaw, and the stress that they hold their tension between their shoulders and their face, and getting the tension release from the different spots in the brain, by doing the cranial massage and the facial massage. So if you don't want a regular full body massage, you can do that. Then there's reflexology.
Should we talk about in this deep tissue massage, because that's kind of a different deal?
So let me. Yeah. So deep tissue massage is good for stress relief. If you're going and doing just like Swedish massage, some people don't like deep tissue. And they like the Swedish. The difference is deep tissue. You can have deep tissue at different like pressure points. So you can have it like mild, moderate, and really deep. But then you have Swedish, and Swedish is kind of like that. I don't like Swedish. So Swedish is that it's too creepy for me. It's got that weird, for me, it's like that you might as well just not charge me and I just go home, because it's a waste. I'm like, I need Helga standing on top of me going like, right? I like deep tissue because of my athleticism.
It has,
right?
It has its benefits, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about, because there's a lot of toxin release. And
if you have the deep tissue, there's a lot of toxin release. When you have Swedish massage, there can be that toxin. They will say that there's toxin relief, but I've never experienced that. I'm usually like, well, that was a waste of my money.
Yeah.
Even when I've gone in, so I'm really, really clear with people going, if you can't do deep tissue, we can't do it. Yeah. But at this point, any good self-care, if you want to get a soft, weird touch thing, go, fine. It's not going to give you the bigger benefit of having it. And you don't have to have Helga, poor Helga, whoever Helga is out there, saying that. But I actually have a lovely woman, Rosie, who is
Rosie.
That's her name.
So far from Helga.
I know. Well, she's great. I didn't, but it's Rosie. And occasionally more local, I have Natalia. So that's closer to Helga, but, and very different. They're both deep tissue people, but they're very different. And so finding someone that you really like, but that is a good stress reliever, like once a month, sometimes twice a month, right? If you can. But that is it's different than the yoga thing, because if you can't afford it, it's harder. To
but
find
do you jump
someone
right into deep tissue? I don't know if that should be his first massage.
I think if you haven't had a massage, I think you should start with a lighter touch. Sure. But if most people, especially in their adulthood, know that, if they like someone like rubbing them, on their shoulders harder or not. And so they can, but any massage therapist who's worth their salt can give a range of pressure. So it should be fine. So that's another self-care piece. Then there's Reiki. Mm-hmm. So Reiki is the energy healing. Now Reiki has, and we've talked about this before, that most spas now, like the high-end day spas and like the hotels that have the big shishi spas, most of them now have Reiki. Again, you have to be trained. You're supposed to be. There isn't licensing for it, but there is certification, and you want to find people that have like my certification for it. Like I went and did it for, a while. And then you keep going. You have to keep going and doing the practice, and you have to keep adding on to become a master Reiki and then practice it. But if you like energy work and you just like the fact of feeling like you're having your alignment of your chakras, mm-hmm. if because there's a lot of like the Ayurvedic medicine complementary that if you find good people that believe in how to like keep you centered and here and now, and using research from like Irvin Yalom, who is famous in psychology for being in the here and now, or Eckhart Tolle, the one who writes all those wonderful books about being present and the energy of yourself and healing yourself. Those are more contemporary people that do complementary medicine work. Then you use Reiki. And so that means, if you have a pain, again, you have to have some believability in it. You have to really buy into those kinds of things because it's not hands-on, right? So it's not like a massage. It's not like doing yoga, but it's self-care, and it's quiet, and it's relaxing. Yeah. And that is, but the cautionary tale there is making sure that the people, that's why I say go to like a really reputable day spa, because usually the people are licensed in other things. Yep. And they're, wow. They're licensed in other things, so they have that, and then they'll have that training. Reiki works beautifully for people who really need to just have good relaxation, because it's very soothing. So if you don't want the person, you just want them to do like, it's it's about life force, right? So it's about generating your own life force from within, and having that work for yourself to have your energy of your mind, body, spirit around you be in a positive way, or a positive light, and not sit in negativity and toxicity. So
you touched on it. You have to be open to that.
Yes, you have to be open to that, and you have to believe that that is part of who you are. So people who are much more inflexible or structured or rigid, concrete, or don't believe in that will have a harder time feeling relaxation from that. Yep. People who feel much more connected to the earth and have much more of a spiritual connection, not religious, but spiritual connection. Like they feel like they're part of a bigger energy thing. And I think that more people who are intuitive and really emotionally intelligent are much more inclined to find that helpful for them. But again, that's sort of like an outskirt one. I do not recommend Reiki for people who have organic like psychosis disorders or delusional anything, because
can't get there.
Yeah, they can get there and go. They can get there, but I have found that people get really caught up in going into those things because it taps into delusions, usually of paranormal stuff. And for people who have psychosis, like schizophrenics or paranoid schizophrenia, or people who are on the schizoaffective scale of personalities or things like that, and get psychotic or delusional or bipolar to the extent that they have psychosis, it will tap in sometimes to like the God delusions, and then some of the sexualized delusions and things like that. And I don't think it's good for people because it enhances it, and it can exacerbate it. And also a person usually that's in those moments can build storylines around it that are fantastical, and you don't want to be a practitioner in that position, because then you have no idea what those people are going to come out with, right? So I caution people to do that, not to do that. So Reiki is a good thing. And then chakra, the chakra lining, because a lot of people will go to acupuncturist and or acupressure, and like the VA is using a lot of acupuncture and a lot of acupressure now as complementary medicine. And a lot of the practitioners that I know that practice around here do a lot of like chakra work. So they'll, they do a lot of like energy first, and then they do the needling, or they do the pressure for depending on what you're doing.
Where does acupuncture fall on the alternative medicine scale? Because it is widely accepted.
Mm-hmm.
Again, part of
now it is right now. Well, it took a while, but yes.
Yeah.
Where does it fall on the spectrum of what?
Is it considered alternative medicine, or is it? Yeah.
It's considered a complementary medicine. So alternative, I use them interchangeably, but really complementary medicine, the way I see it, is things that I'm listing that really have good research, or at least some research behind them, that has some good benefit for you to live your best life, kind of thing. That's really going to enhance your life in some way. Alternative medicines, these can be alternatives to generalized medicine. However, in alternative medicine, there's also other things that are in there that can be a little off the range, right? And so for some people, like I was just saying, like for people who have like delusions and psychosis and things like that, Reiki is not a good thing, right? Acupressure, totally fine, as long as the person doesn't get into the energy work, right? Because usually you're tapping into that, and and a lot of people that have those get into the God delusion, and you don't want that, or the demon delusion. You just don't want that sitting in your chair. And that's not helpful for that person either. So it's not good for the practitioner. It's not good for the actual client. So it's just not it's a counter recommended for the counter recommended. But acupressure and acupuncture are much more widely accepted, and they've been around for centuries, as we know, because they have been, they are Eastern medicine that has been tried and true over and over again. And a lot of physical therapy places will do acupuncture and acupressure, or dry needling. And the dry needling is a little different, because those are techniques used in physical therapy that help like release tension and like knots. And you can get massages sometimes with people that do like cupping and dry needling. And those are alternative complementary medicine pieces that actually get certified and have like good practice for like muscle tension and athletes and things like that. So that's actually good self-care as well.
All right, so
you just have to have tolerance for the cupping or the needling. And I can attest to the fact that it's a weird feeling and it will bruise you.
On those, in that category, what would you do the pie in terms of that being mental activity and physical activity, physical medicine and mental medicine? Cupping especially, because I always find cupping interesting.
Well, so cupping is physical, obviously, for like, but it helps mentally, because it's relieving of the tensions in the body, right? Or physical maladies that build tension. You see, like, you remember Michael Phelps when he had it all. Remember he had all the cups all over his back, because it relieves so much tension in the physical area of the pain, like a shoulder injury or a back injury or a leg injury or things like that. That it then relieves not only the physical, then it gives you the peacefulness of
it's physical, still physical first.
So cupping is going to be physical, and so will dry needling. But acupuncture can be either or. Like sometimes people have, really bad tension headaches, or from stress, they'll do like, the needles, like in the ear, like in the earlobe or things like that. Or they'll just do it for stress. I have a couple clients that go strictly for tension relief. And so they use it, and they find it very beneficial, because they do hand, feet, because of different chakras, right? So the different areas of the body. And if you look at like reflexology, and you look at how people's, there's spots on your feet that correspond with different parts of your body, that you can do that too. That's why, those good feet places, when they have people going in for massages of the feet and reflexology, and a lot of the high-end spas have that as well, because those are all mental aligners essentially. And they work really, really great for a lot of people. So
it's funny, my chiro is killer, but the thing I go for is the muscle stimulation at the end. I get 15 minutes of the muscle stimulation in a warm towel. And it's like, I should be able to recreate that outside of that office, but I can't. And it's like, it's just I'm always begging for another 15 minutes.
Well, you can get one. I don't know why you can't. They won't let you.
No, I know, but it's just the whole setting everything down for 15 or 20 minutes, and just, just dealing with that. That's all, just being there. it's a stupid new age music and all that stuff, but it puts you in a mood.
Stupid new age music.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
I know, but it works.
Okay, well, so that would be a complementary medicine.
Yeah.
So doing the electrostim and like biofeedback kind of machines, right? That have been around forever. Yeah. Like those work beautifully on people, and that's why a lot of PTs and chiropractors use them. So having a chiropractor is exceptionally beneficial if you have a good one. Now, everybody that is an actual board certified chiropractor is licensed and is a doctor in chiropractic care. So you need to find someone, if you're going to go to a chiropractor, someone that you know, like, and trust. And I always tell people, if they've got 7 to 10 people going at the same time, because usually chiropractors are really busy, you want to make sure your chiropractor is one that may have that going on, but does spend time with you and does adjust you, and also doesn't just do adjustments and you don't go there just to get your back cracked.
Right.
There's usually a lot more, like, good chiropractors have much more hands-on of not just adjustments. Sometimes they don't adjust. Sometimes they do other things. They can do, cupping, needling. They can do, different types of things to, like, build strength. They do they're more like PTs, in a lot of ways. So if you're just going in 3 times a week and getting adjusted, I think that you need to make sure that you have a person that's got more going on than that. And I think old school chiropractors are much more like that than more contemporary trained. And so, but chiropractic care is really important. And I think that's good for self-care. It's not going to be the same as massage, but chiropractic care is really good for allergies. It's really good for people with asthma. It's really good for people who have, like, mobility issues, flexibility issues, people who sit for long periods of time, stiffness, right? In terms of, like, mental health issues or anxieties, there is some research about, like, how good adjustments and keeping your body aligned helps with anxiety and keeping it lower in stress, because it relieves the tension between your face and your neck and your torso for your core. So in that way, it's really good. So I'm a big fan of chiropractic care since we used to have it back in the 70s. There's a dating of me, right? That when I was a gymnast, we had chiropractic care, and that was a long time ago. So it's not like it's a newfangled thing. A lot of people don't believe in it. At this day and age, I don't know why, because it's a great tool. No,
mine's great. And she's very holistic. She's got a lot of things going on, a wide range of treatments.
And that's what you want to look for, is you want to look for someone that's a holistic or naturopath, like, that believes that, like, your body can heal itself with some adjustments or with some natural things going on. My chiropractor will always talk about, diet, nutrition. He's multifaceted in what he does. So he's able to do a range, and I will send people to him because he's really good across the spectrum. And then, so he's really good at that. And I think that that's important to have too. The other alternative medicine is PT, and people are always like, well, I need a referral to go to a PT. No, you don't. You can go to PT, if you like, yes, you do, if you have, like, some major injury or you're coming off of surgery or something, but you can actually have a PT on your payroll, like, and going to see someone, because they're good at, like, if you're women, especially, women have really weaker hips a lot of times. And that's because you have a bad core, and people think core means doing sit-ups. And that's not right. So a lot of times people don't really know, and they go to the gym and then they do core work and all those things, but then they're not doing. So having a PT, a doctor in PT who knows and is licensed to just work on your core and give you those exercises, that will help you. And that's good self-care too. PTs also are massage therapists a lot of times. So they can do, like, the dual role for you and help you, like, in both ways. So, if you want to add a PT person in, that's fine. Outside of being an injury.
Core work needs a lot more nuance than the gym a lot of times, right?
Yes, because core work is really about anything from your, right below your hips all the way up to just, like, in your mid back. And your core is everything really around your hips, are your hips strong enough to be able to support the midsection, to be able to support the back? So people have like sciatic pain. I always send them to PT or refer them out to people that will help build their core, because sciatic pain a lot of times is from people having weak core and weak hips.
Yeah.
And then they, and then they get into like doctors' offices that are like, we'll do surgery. I'm like, no. Let's go build the core first. Or here's the other thing is lose weight.
Yeah.
A lot of times people have struggle taking care of themselves and having good self care because they are not eating well and they carry their weight in their stomach. They have like peg legs, and then they have like, like thin upper body, and then they have this big stomach, right? Especially, like people who drink a lot of beer or people who eat a lot of sugar and salt, like they have that extension and the distension in the stomach. That's a lot of work on the lower back and the sciatic area and like on the hips. And usually the hips are weak and they can't carry it. And, menopausal women get like usually the tire around them. And then they start to have like back pain, hip pain, knee pain. And that's part of that reason is, they're not doing anything about that. So what kinds of complementary care can you do for yourself? Well, obviously get a personal trainer, get a good nutritionist, do things that are, go to people that actually know what they're doing. Don't wing it. Don't go to the gym and just start, I see people in the gym, I see people in the gym all the time and I know what they're trying to do, but I just watch and go, oh God, these people need help with this because they're not, they're making good effort, but they're just doing the wrong things. And I'm like, I just want to go over and say, I can give you a referral to someone that can help you.
Do the 30-minute circuit.
Yeah. Planet Fitness, they'll go on the red light, green light thing, and they'll go around and get the whole body, but it's not building the core. And a lot of times people need that first. And that actually,
you're not focusing attention where it might be needed.
Right. And we're talking about exercise in this particular case, but how is that helpful to like mental health? If you actually have a really strong core, it actually makes you feel better about yourself, because when you can stay upright, you have good posture, you have all these things, you don't have knots in your back, you're having all these, your whole confidence level and your whole demeanor sort of brightens up and it becomes better. So, even if you go to the gym, kudos to you, go to the gym, do that circuit. It's better than nothing. So don't get discouraged by that, but just know that go to YouTube if you don't know what core work is, because a lot of times people go right to, I got to do crunches and sit-ups. That is not core work. It is, but it's not. It's really involving your hips and a lot of other lower back things. And
from a mental health standpoint, it's the first thing you feel when you get out of bed is pain.
Right.
Getting up, and that's a struggle. That's the first context for your day. That's how the day starts off. Yeah.
And it's a common way that people start their days, even at young ages. I have people that are in their 20s. They're like, I get up in the morning and I'm in so much pain. And I'm like, you're 20.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So those pieces are important. Now people ask about naturopaths, right? Like most naturopaths, if you want to go see a naturopath who does strictly everything naturally and holistically, you want to find people that actually went to there's medical school for naturopath. It's a DO. Okay. So instead of an MD, it's a DO. Or you have someone that's a doctor of osteopathy. Okay. And you want to find that, or you want to find someone that has got a doctor, they're actually a doctor in naturopathy. And so if you're going to someone that's just claiming it, because there's people, so here's my alternative medicine. So there's people who have certifications. I don't know where they got them, but there are people out there that go and get them because people put on these like retreats and then say you're certified, and the person giving it was certified by themselves and they made money, right? They're around. There are a lot of people like that around, and they make big money off of, they'll do all these like thousands of dollars of blood tests and test your blood for all these, allergies and all these things. And then they'll sell you the products that are in their office that are, you need these 12 vitamins, and they're all these proprietary blends of something that they've concocted and whatever. You've got to be really careful and mindful of those kinds of things, because do your research, do good health advocacy research on who you're seeing for those things, because there's nothing wrong with seeing someone like that, but there's some really reputable people that actually have degrees and credentials, and then there's people out there that don't, and they just are there to take your money and just keep throwing things at, that. So if people have questions and they're in this area of New England, I know a whole list of people that I have colleagues that are actually, I call them real treaters that actually have reputations that precede them and are excellent. And then I have a sort of mini list of people when I hear like, that's not someone I would recommend. And a lot of people find them because they go searching for something different, an alternative medicine, and that's what pops up on the internet.
And their marketing.
Right. The other thing to be mindful of is, and this is going to sound really probably strange, maybe not to you, but if you're not seeing a psychologist and you're not seeing someone who has a doctorate like I do, or someone that has a licensed mental health counselor or social worker or something like that, and there's a lot of people who hang their shingle out, so to speak, that never went to school at all, and they're practicing because they went to like these institutes that teach people how to be counselors, but you don't have to have a high school diploma, you don't have to have a college degree, and then they give you a certification after you give them $15,000 and you spend like a year training with them, and then they supervise you while you pay them more money to do that. Now, you might not know that as a consumer that that's who you're seeing, because on their thing it will say psychotherapist or it will say counselor, but they're not they're not trained, and you've got to be mindful, be a good advocate for yourself, and know that that's not always what it seems. There are a lot of people out there like that. And I know a few people that do that, and I cringe because I actually know people personally in my life that they're like, that's what they do. They practice it. And I'm always like, you shouldn't be doing this. You shouldn't be doing this. But, and people, and they try, and because they are not licensed, they aren't on any panel. So they're private pay, and they charge $300 to $400 a session, and people pay it.
Wow. Yeah.
And it blows my mind, but be careful, a warning. Really quickly, I see a very long, hi, I'm back. I just want to add that when I went to study Ayurveda in India, one of the most important things I learned is that basic meditation yoga techniques are great generally. I was like, I can't read that. But if you find after a few weeks of consistency, if it's not working great for you, there's likely a meditation style on the spectrum of grounding versus inquisitive and open awareness versus focus practices that might work better. Yes, he's correct. So it's important to keep at it. There's more than 150 styles and everyone has a shoe. Yes, that's such a good. So Rohit just wrote that. And yes to all of that. And that was like to the beginning. I don't know if he was at the beginning of the show when I said there's something for everyone out there. You just have to find the fit, because there are so many different things, and people get really scared or turned off by the fact of like, oh, I can't do it because it's this. And like to his point, there's 150 styles and there's something out there for you. You just have to find it. And it's those particular things are such good self-care practices for people. And people get I think people should get more into those kinds of things versus like finding the voodoo schmoodoo person down the street that's practicing God knows what, or running $1,000 of tests to tell you that you don't process iron the right way.
And which
may be true.
All these practices are great and help a lot of people, but am I out of line when I say this is a skill set you kind of need to develop on your own? And there are 1,000 ways to meditate that don't look like, that aren't incense and, lotus position.
Well, and that's the thing is I think there's
people go fishing or play golf sometimes.
Meditation comes in many forms. So what he was talking about is like more towards like the traditional meditation along that kind of continuum. But you can be meditative when you're driving in the car.
Yeah.
You can be meditative playing golf. Running is meditative for people. Taking a walk in nature. We have such good science. Now talk about a good natural complementary medicine. We have more and more research coming out on just being in nature therapy, Nature therapy is amazing.
Yep.
Music therapy,
amazing,
because what it does to the brain and what it changes. And there's some in the past, I think because of the pandemic, that's what I'm going with. I've seen so much more and read so much more research that's come out in the past few years that came from that time of the pandemic, of people being out in the wilderness. Because remember, I don't know if you remember this, but I think you did. I was hiking constantly at every given moment during the pandemic, just so I could be out of the house. And they had all, a lot of people didn't realize that they could go out and do that. And I kept it quiet but then it sort of, as the pandemic went on, more and more people got savvy to the fact that, oh, we can go to the mountains and go. And so it was really interesting, because I don't think I ever told you this. Like when you go up to the White Mountains, there's still remnants of like social distancing signs on the on like the mountain trails of like, keep 6 feet apart. And and people would be all masked up, and I'd be like, I'm not going out in nature and masking up. I'm out here to be away from people. So, but there's great research on what it does for obviously your physical body, but the mental health, about being rewired back to the earth, because it's talking about, and it sounds probably weird, but it's about the connection that you have to nature and getting back to just the basics and the wellness model of psychology, right? And when people say, oh, I see a psychologist and whatever, and I'm like, do you ever go out for a walk? Because I walk like spring and summer and fall.
Just go for a walk.
Most of my clients are like, let's go for a walk. And I'm, usually if it's not raining, which has been raining, we'll do the whole time. I have three different paths that we do walks on. And it takes that whole time. And walking and talking is very different than sitting in the room. You get a very different flavor of the therapy when you do it, right? And it's, it's like exercise therapy with nature therapy, and it's great. So that's an alternative way to do therapy, right?
But too many people are locked into the got to clear your mind aspect of rotation and meditation. That's not what it's about.
And it's not about clearing your mind, because it's impossible to actually clear your mind. So I know
people constantly fail when they try, because they think that's the goal.
They think that's the goal, is to clear your mind. And it's not about clearing your mind. And I'm sure some people that do practice it that way will disagree. But when you're really doing like the Buddhist principles, and you think of like Thich Nhat Hanh, if you want to know who that is, I can always put it up in the chat. If you're doing the Buddhist traditional kind of like meditative clear, it's not clearing, like blanking out your mind. It's freeing yourself of like the thoughts that are there, so that every time they come in and they're intrusive, that you don't want them there, you just refocus on, okay, right now I don't want that here. I'm going to think about like I'm going to go back to the image of the lotus flower. I'm going to go back to the image of the beach that I was on, or
watching a river. The thought comes up, you watch it flow by.
Right. And so you let the leaf drop onto let the leaf drop on the river and let it fly by and go down. And then you're back to the center. So it's not about emptying your mind and seeing like a white space. And that's what a lot of people, years ago in the beginning of my practice, when I would do like meditation and stress management, and I was doing that with geriatric patients, because that's where I started my career. They would have such a hard time, because that was their, that's what that age group knew, and that's how you do it. And I'm like, no. We're just going to I want you to focus on like something amazing that you would love, like, or a color, and people are like, that's not meditation. I'm like, yes, it is. It is. It's just sitting.
Morning on the deck, petting your dog is meditation.
Or your cat.
You about to let cats go outside?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I let them out on the deck.
Yeah.
But with me, yes. But meditation has all those pieces to Rohit's point.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to make sure I get in a couple more. Like, I just want to make sure, because I was like, okay. So, we talked. Oh, I was going to say, the traditional Chinese medicine is, those herbal medicine. Again, finding someone that has, a trusted reputation in that. Usually they're not certified. Usually they're not licensed, because that's not right. But finding someone that does acupuncture and acupressure, they are. So you want to find someone, if you want herbal remedies and things like that. I do integrative holistic care, integrative mental health practicing. So like, because I was trained in my programs, all of them, like in medicine and naturopathy, and also medicine. So You find someone that does it like that, that's licensed,
Mhm.
that can also do that. You can find that. Herbal remedies, being very careful with like plants and things like that, because if you have medical conditions, you want to make sure that you're working with someone that knows medicine and knows pharmaceuticals and knows conditions, because oftentimes people will give out recommendations for people that actually might have a blood pressure issue, and then they give them an herbal remedy that changes that. You have to make sure you know someone that
Right.
isn't going to mess that up, and has that idea. So you have to do research. You can't just because they have it on their door that they're this doesn't mean that
Right.
they're that. And then I was gonna say, oh, hypnosis. A couple of people asked me about hypnosis. Hypnosis is a suggestible thing as well, and hypnosis is not like what you see, on stages when people talk about, oh, go, we're gonna go quack like a duck or check it. No, hypnosis is really just an altered state of consciousness, and you don't go to sleep, and you don't have. It's just going into a deeper meditative state. Some people are not able to do it because they're not suggestible, like in terms of trusting and having the vulnerability to let that go. And
I'm raising my hand here.
Yeah. And so, and you have to find someone, again, that's trained and certified and either licensed, because you want someone that knows what they're doing. And a complementary medicine that is questionable / has not great results is EMDR. The eye movement desensitization, right? EMDR is not good for like people who have trauma, even though it's for trauma. So let me go back. It's good for people who have trauma, who are realistic about what things like that can do. It does not have really great research still to support. It has some about how it works and how it, right? It can lead people in a direction to sort of suggest things to them that aren't there, like kind of repressed memories. And I have had tons of veterans over the time, like people who have served in military, that hate EMDR and have been pushed into EMDR and don't like it and feel it's useless. I'm not a big fan of EMDR. You have to be trained and certified, and it's 6 months to a year or more to get it. A lot of people practice it with no training or certification. And it also can create more trauma, or it can place trauma in someone's head that never had trauma, but then you believe you have it because that's so. Yeah, not a big fan of EMDR. People often will say, "Can we do EMDR?" And I'm like, I do not practice EMDR. I'm not a fan of EMDR. I've had people come to me from other practitioners that have come in with trauma from having it with another person, and I think it does more damage just from a clinical perspective. Anecdotally, over the years, I don't use it, and it just doesn't have the right. It doesn't have the backup on it, but people will use it and seek out as an alternative. And there's people out there that are making a lot of money off of just doing EMDR because they sell it as a trauma treatment. And if you get someone in, you can place memories into their head a lot of times. I say that because this is the stories that have come to me from people that have come to me and said, "Oh, EMDR messed me up." And so I'm like, well, we'll have to unmess that up, right? So just be mindful. You have to be a good consumer about those things. So, all right. So I will make this a 2-part, because next week we can finish with all the other things. And then I can also talk about some of the things that really you should stay away from, like EMDR. I mean, if you want to do it, but just have a caution to it that it's not all what it seems. And it can be practiced by anybody. Yep. And be careful. As the disclaimer there. So everybody have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week, and we will continue this.